You're right. You ought to tell three people he's still there. He is here. He is here. He is here. Ooh, ooh,
Well, well, well. What a way to come on tonight. I can't. You know what, people? People are funny. we thought we'd kind of add a little exciting humor in here to this evening, start the show out, because that's kind of where we're going tonight with most of our topics tonight, celebrating laughter, but at the time, celebrating joy and laughter at the same time. So if y'all didn't get a laugh out of that person, you can go back after the show and watch it again. I'm telling you.
But his cadence was all over the place.
Was that cadence? I don't know if you can call it that.
His cadence.
You being nice.
That was just something going on with that.
It was something out there with that one, boy. But anyway, good evening, everyone, and welcome to The Truth Behind the Truth. We're glad to see you guys today. Thank you for taking the time out. I think we've got some new visitors and everything that are going to be visiting the show tonight. So we want you to like, and share tonight. Thank you for responding to the posts out there. We're going to get back into doing that more. But as I've said to you earlier on, that we also are going to provide an opportunity for you to get notified when we come on. Okay. So we'll let you know that in the coming days how you'll be able to be able to support that part of us as well. Want to remind you to like and share, as I said earlier, and also to support us. Cash App right there on your screen. TTBTT Show on Cash App, and our Venmo opportunity for contribute donations, pay however you want to look at it, is on Venmo as well at The Truth Behind the Truth. All right. Hope you guys had an awesome day. And we're going to have some fun tonight. Right. A little bit serious here there, but we're going to have some fun tonight because we're going to be celebrating, I'm going to say two iconic moments in time. All right. If you've seen the post, we are celebrating the Golden Girls final episode, which happened 30 years ago. This past week, actually was this past Friday night, with that. So we said, well, you know what? We're going to pay a contributor to them a little bit, and talk about how that show has just been such an iconic moment, throughout history for us, and those that really enjoyed the show this day 30 years later, actually, no, 38 years later, because, when the show first evolved and all of us that were fans, when it first came on. And then we're also going to talk about the Pope, our new Pope, and Pope Leo, and what excitement moment that he's going to be bringing to the show tonight, as well. And Dylan did a little research on Catholicism, so we'll talk about that. So
not on Catholicism, but I did some on this guy.
Oh, okay, good.
Not on the religion, but on this person. Yes,
okay, I do know a little bit about Catholicism, so I'll share my points about that. And I know Charles knows a little bit about it as well. So we'll share our points on that. And we've got a breastfeeding topic that we're going to talk about. And then we will also talk about the controversy in the acting arena, where people are making judgment calls of two wonderful actors that'll be getting together on making a movie come out soon. But we'll get into that in a little bit. All right. You know what? Let's go ahead and dig on in from the first thing. You want to start with the Pope first?
We can start with anything.
Okay.
Why not the Pope?
Yeah. Why not the Pope? Not the Pope. All right.
He is Pope Leo the 14th.
Yes.
And Pope Leo is AKA Robert Prevost.
Yes.
And he is an American.
Yes, he is.
He is the first American Pope ever to be ordained
Pope.
as the highest of the highest within the
Catholic Church.
within Catholicism and the Catholic Church.
Yes.
But he is from Chicago on the South Side. Isn't it something that most of our intelligent people come from the South Side of Chicago?
Wow.
While we have
While
we have a few ignorant ones that come from
Mar-a-Lago
and New York and certain places called a stock market. Businesses, but can't get a tariff. Can't even tariff the right people will want to tariff China. Well, he's ignorant anyway. But Robert Francis Prevost, he's 69 years old, and yes, he is the first. He was born in Chicago in 1955. The parents of Spanish and Franco-Italian descent. Now we all know that he is Creole, and they are all from New Orleans.
So he got some black in him.
Wait! What'd you say, Child? What'd you say?
He has some black in him. I think his great grandmother's black or Haitian, and there's some other black folks in his background.
Wow. Truth behind the truth.
Truth behind the truth.
Truth behind the truth. So they're Catholic through the tradition and tradition and the religion and within New Orleans.
Yes,
most black people of the Creole descent are Catholic. And then it comes from the French too. That is the reason why the connection from France to the Americas is that faith.
Right.
But keep going down the line. He moved to Peru and he pursued his career in the country of Peru for 3 years. And sure enough, that's where he built up his following.
Right.
And he became known as the People's Pope. That's
Absolutely.
great.
Absolutely. Yes. I send my prayer to the church. For the first time in a long time, and believe me, I'm not Catholic. Okay? I want to make it plain. Okay. But there is something to the idea of how this process happened for them. It's a long 1,000-year history. Okay, I did well. Of course, I haven't gone to Catholic school and all that stuff, but I know a lot about religion and stuff. But that's not my point of getting to now. I just want to bring you up to date as to where it is, and then how it happens, and kind of sort of why it happens. I had a conversation yesterday with several people since he become Pope, and they're like, well, this is really different from me. This is kind of opened up the idea of the synergy that is around this moment in time, and a lot of people are now exploring that opportunity, at this point in time. So I'm really excited to hear about that. I know I'm kind of jumping all over the place because there's so much about this I wanted to share.
Well, this is the best thing that has ever happened to this country. Now that we have a fool that's now
absolutely
controlling things.
Absolutely.
This is the best news to know that we still have people who have what I would call a humanist bone in their body. Somebody who believes in humanity through religion,
right,
not through politics. To be honest with you, because we're not seeing that right now. But other than that, though, this is the best thing that America has produced and has put out. And I can say this: I hope that fool don't put himself in this glorious, situation.
He already has.
Well,
he already.
He doesn't need to taint what this man has worked for,
right?
Because no.
But he already said that allegedly that he's been put out that he was the great influence by him.
Oh God!
I mean, like, really, jackass? Do you really jackass? You know what? To me, you made yourself further a jackass at that particular point in time. Really making statements like that.
Whatever.
I mean, really, But anyway, let's stay in the glory of this, okay? So, but yeah, so the Catholic faith have had its scrutiny. I mean, believe you me, it has had its scandals and still overcoming scandals. But let me say this about the scandalous part about it all is that every religion has had its scandals. Believe you me, okay? It just hasn't been as large, exactly. Has had its scandals, all right? And the servicing part about that is that I think that he is going to be more of a humanistic understanding about that and not condone the scandals, but yet bring it to a level that the scandals that has been can be resolved. You know, I know that there's a huge settlement that's going on with a lot of people in that, and I think that people unfortunately settle themselves around what has happened for what was the word I'm looking for?
Let's just pray that he don't have no skeletons in his situation.
Well, yeah,
let's just pray that he has none.
Right. Let me finish the point.
All right.
So, but his accountability, the accountability, so that's what I'm trying to say, because there's just a lot out there that is in the sector of religion and the lack of accountability.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want to go through the lane or label other denominations and things like that, because that's not the point of tonight. I do that on another show. But just know that it is an exciting time, and if you can find within yourself to find the love of humanity that this man is pushing for, then you can understand why he's been put in place. Yeah. All right, you know that. I did have the opportunity in travels to actually travel to Rome. I have been to the Vatican. And Vatican City and into the Sistine Chapel and where all this is done. And it is an awe moment, you know, to be able to stand there and recognize and see the many times that this event has taken place in there. Charles, you've been to Rome, haven't you?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought you have. Yeah. So, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. Just the obvious of that being in Rome is just it's a spiritual enlightening, you know, in that not for one direction of religious practices, but it is very spiritually enlightening. And the fact is, you can stand in this place and witness, or in the room where this event has taken place, you know. So it's a really, really good. If you get a chance to go to Rome, or make it a chance to go to Rome, your life will never be the same again, you know.
What I find so interesting about the subject matter of Catholicism is the fact that I think the only president we have that was so about the faith was John F. Kennedy.
Well, and
who Roman Catholic,
right? And President Biden.
Oh, yes, right.
Yeah, President Biden. Yeah, he actually. Well, they're the ones actually that put it right out there what their faith was, you know, in that and which is okay with me.
But the stigma was always so pungent when it came down to them being worship. Well, let's just say being part of the Catholic faith. My thing, why is that such a repulse to some people who are Protestant?
Well,
why is it that serving with God, regardless of faith, should be a situation?
Should be a priority.
Should be a priority. Well, it's not only a priority, but why does it have to be of a certain, I would say, denomination or a certain organization that is more well accepted than being Catholic?
Well,
that's my issue with this.
Right. No, I understand. The number one thing, and I'm going to try to say this part about it. The thing is that, you know, the Catholic, the separation where the Catholicism was the dominating, you know, religious practice for all over the world. Yeah, 1%. And the involvement of that was where Martin Luther, not Martin Luther King, but Martin Luther separated that, because he's also was in the priesthood in the Catholic organization, and he discovered that there was a bunch of malarkey that was going on. So he separated the choices and made and came up with the Protestant movement, which we all are typically under the Protestant movement. Every other denomination that filtered after that, you know, in and of itself. So there are a lot of ritualistic things that the Catholic Church that are really just, in my opinion, that are not necessary to a lot of people. And then over time, people in these different denominations start to create, I think, fabricated things about the Catholic Church, calling it the whore of Babylon and all these other type of, you know, this stuff. And you know what, I could get, I don't want to get in all that tonight because it's very deep. But if you're in a practicing religion at this particular point, I encourage you to step away. Okay, and pick up a book and do some research around where the involvement of the Protestant church came from. Okay, then you can get a better understanding of where Catholicism is and what it's doing. The last thing about it, because then we need to talk. The last part about that is now at this point in Africa, it is the largest growing worship of gathering of people in the world right now. Africa is turning Catholic very quickly. Very quickly. They gave a number. I don't want to give you the wrong number. It was over 48,000, 4,800, whatever it was that have been converted into Catholicism. So there's something to it. I'm not going that way. I know you're not going to Charles, but I'm just saying. All right, go ahead, Charles. I'm sorry.
Well, I just want to add that the Pope speaks 7 languages, so just say he can translate and talk to a lot of different folks around the world. Right. My other part is I've never been my mom's not going to like this, but I've never been a very religious person because I think that I follow Buddhism to a lot because I believe the world all looks at a higher power, and that's what we should all look at. Versus you hold the cross, you bring them off the cross. We do it. Everybody's got their little niches in their religion, and then we also got to remember that I'm just a person that's never been a follower. I've always been my own person. I've always been influenced by people, but I've never been a follower. And I think that once this country gets off that cultist premise we're on right now, we can do a lot better and we can get a lot further along. But as far as it goes with the Catholic Church, there's so much with it. Like you said, there's so much seediness with the Nazis and everybody else and the molestation. So I just want people to realize that until we take care of each other and realize that we can't get anywhere without each other, we're not going to move forward.
That's right.
That's just the bottom line.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that. You know, and as I said earlier, we can find problems in every religion. You know what I mean?
Well, you tell MAGA
Teresa. Oh, she called it the whore Babylon anyway.
MAGA Teresa is the one that likes to bring up ignorant stuff. But I always I think most ignorant people would have believed that any Catholic leader or president was going to go to the Vatican before it went to where it needed to go. You know, they always felt like, I think, to be honest with you, historically, I think people believe that if you were the Catholic faith and you were running this, if you were to run this country as a Catholic, you would run to the Vatican before you ran to anything else. So I think that was probably one of the ignorances. That was probably one of the ignorances of why they didn't want John F. Kennedy in the first place to be president and be Catholic, because they thought the Pope might run the United States.
You know, and that strikes up another point too, because see, during this particular point in time, till MAGA Teresa, as you said, and this clown got in, it was all about keeping separation of church and state.
Yep,
we fought for that. But all of a sudden now the church wants to be the dominant source of religion or religious practices in America. Okay,
but we talk trash about Iran and other places,
right? You know, and so this, you know, the religion is always going to be this catalyst of control and power, because it is the number one controlling power over humanity. You know. You know, it is the number one controlling power of humanity and people's belief systems, and they compile of so many different things. You know, I tend to push against the waves of the African American side of it, because we come with some stuff, okay, and then we want to put it behind or put it in front of or own the church, and then the church. And the first thing that we do in our decision making is that we run to the church for that. I'm not saying that that's right, but I'm not saying that that's wrong. Okay, but you have been created to approach and understand God for yourself. Now, there's one last point you can say upon it. We're gonna move on. Even with that behavior, okay, and like we said, we got to pray about it. We got to do it. But what's the difference what Catholic people do? Catholic Church is the same thing. They go to Mary, they go to Jesus, they go to the Pope before they get an answer. So we cannot even establish ourselves as quote unquote Christian getting that unless we have this higher level consultation going on. We got to knock on the door, make reservations, come in and see God, and get what. Okay, so we are all in this unfortunately religious pool, you know, and we all have a tendency to run to things that we think that is safe for us. But in essence, the only safety that there is in your individual relationship with your Creator.
Let's just hope and believe it stays that way. But you know, most societies would rather for it to be God than to stay in their place.
Absolutely.
Or to just be in their place.
Absolutely.
I think that's the problem. A lot of people love to play God.
Well, you know
they will love it. Love it.
That's the I don't know. It is. I mean, like so we could get very deep into that tonight, but we won't go to further. We're going to keep it light on that. But welcome, Pope Leo. You know, and we're really hoping
Pope Leo the 14th.
Yes, we're hoping that you have the success that your heart wants to do. You know, with humanity. And we can get people loving each other again like they really should have been, that they've lost that love for each other, right? Bottom line, you need to be loving humanity at the end of the day. And that's us as individuals. No matter what religious faith that you are a part of, you need to be loving humanity. And if you're not, then you need to put yourself in check, and not put this man in check or whomever else in check. Start with yourself first, as always. So we're going to move on. All right. We're going to spend a little bit of time here talking about our favorite girls. All right.
The Golden Girls.
Yes, our favorite girls.
Women. Golden Girls.
Undesigned women. So we're going to talk about our favorite girls for a little bit here. Tonight was the what I said.
The last season.
Yeah,
the last
episode of. Hold on, let's see if we're gonna get it. If it's working here, can we get it to go? Jack, can you help me over there? I don't know what's going on with it.
Here it is, right there.
No, I'm trying to get the song up.
Press play on the tab.
Yeah,
Huh?
on the tab.
Press play on that tab. Go to that tab and press play.
This one? Nope.
No.
The tab where the video's coming from. Go there and press play.
Okay.
Right there. Go
right here?
Go to the video.
Okay.
If you can.
No, hold on, I can't see it. Hold on, y'all. We have
there it is.
Okay.
Right there. If it'll play.
If it'll play. Let's see. What is it not doing?
Go to the tab on your computer where that video is. Press play.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Here. You see?
I think.
Okay. Sorry guys,
we're just having some technical difficulties. So go to the tab, right?
Yep.
No, not that one.
Then press play on the video.
Okay. It's up on the screen.
Yeah, it's up on the screen though, but I just don't know how to.
No, you need to go to that tab. It's not the screen you're on. It's the tab where that video where you share it from.
Mm-hmm. We'll give it a few minutes. Because the Wi-Fi is kind of down a little bit. But let's talk about it.
We'll talk about it. Maybe we'll get it in just.
We'll talk about it. We'll probably play it towards the end. But you know what? To be honest with you, the show itself, it still hits.
Yeah.
The show itself, the writing of it still hits to this day. You know, one thing I can say about the Golden Girls, they were ahead of its time in subject matter. You know, there are certain shows that you go back and you watch and you be thinking, golly, you know, they weren't too far off the mark with certain things. You know, when it boiled down to interracial dating, the age gap relationships, when it came down to, you know, situation with healthcare with Sophia and all of them, you know, and then on top of that, what was it? Oh my gosh, you know, when the old dude lost his, remember he had Alzheimer's.
Oh yes, yeah.
You know, subject matters like that. Yeah, and that really showed me that, you know, great writing is timeless. It's timeless because there are people in those writing rooms who are not thinking about just right now. They're thinking about the future.
Right. Well, this is true. This is, you know, I loved this show from the moment it first came on. You know, and as a matter of fact, I was living here in LA at the time when it was introduced, and me and a buddy of mine, we you know, the TV was not the way it is now. I mean, so you look forward to it. You couldn't record, or you couldn't use a VCR.
Well, you could VCR.
Yeah, you could have VCR. Yeah. But I remember it was coming on. I remember the advertisement for it. I was like, this is going to be such a great show, you know, in and of itself. Some of the best, I think, writing ever. You know what I mean? And the one thing about this, and most people don't realize, is even if you are still a Golden Girls fan today, that this script was actually written for young women. But just at the last minute of them introducing it to NBC, somebody said, let's change the idea around. At the last minute, they said, let's change this idea around. And they redid it to have women in their middle ages using the lines of what it is for these young women. And it was a tremendous hit. This is why it worked so well, is that because everybody was, the lines were, you look at it and say, how's this older woman using these lines? How could Blanche be so sexually exciting, you know, and
she was Southern.
Well, yeah, that too. But you know,
and then on top of that, she got her first. She became she lost her virginity at a pancake breakfast.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what they all assume.
Yeah, y'all assume this is true, you know. So, you know, from those particular lines to, I mean, just dealing with subject matter of the time. They dealt with HIV at the time. They were actually one of the very first shows that came out and dealt with HIV. during the middle of it, you know. And then when of course there was that episode when Rose thought she had contracted to a blood transfusion, you know. And you know, and then they were on the forefront with same gender love. They were the very first ones that kind of came straight to the camera with that opportunity with Blanche's brother, you know. And then you know, so there were so many iconic shows that have been done the 7 years that they were together, you know, in this, and you wanted it to still go on. And I'm not Charles for this part. The major thing about this is that it has become timeless. That's it. It has become times, and I'm seriously, we watch the Go at least 8-9 times a week. You know, well, it's our go-to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it became so popular that even the royal mother
they
had them do the royal command performance. They did a live performance of a whole bunch of episodes.
Right.
Consist of one scene, but they added in a whole bunch of, you know, of the one-liners and made it into like a one scene where they all sing at you know, that's how popular they were. So it's yes, they were so ahead of their time, and it caught up with and that show really caught a whole lot of people by like, oh my God, this is a phenomenon. We need to be a part of this.
Absolutely. You know, and lastly, the great part about it is it has been introduced to so many other generations.
Oh yeah.
And you know, when I remember when Jeremiah was living with us, Jeremiah became a Golden Girls fan. You know, and it's just that infectious. So I don't know if we'll ever see this type of writing again, you know, in the scope of history that really plays to the heart and to the soul of what life is about.
Well, there is one show, and I always give this show so much praise. It's Abbott Elementary.
Well, true.
Quinta Brunson is, you know, I always say she is the one that is bringing back great writing, because when you watch that show, you tend to you have to remind yourself it's not about how big the show is, how big the names are, because in that show, the children make up the great moments of that show, the school children. So it's the fact that, you know, with great writing, anything can go right.
Thank you for being a friend.
The theme song going.
Great.
But it's just the fact that, yes, great writing is timeless, and this was a timeless show that had a lot of great writing and a lot of great moments. And my goodness, you know, Beatrice, it's just oh my goodness, it's just the fact that what was her name, Rose, Betty White, all of these, they became an American institution. All of them, Bea Arthur became an American institution. All of them have their own followings. Even after death, they are being followed on social media. Rue McClanahan, and you know, and just every one of them just is still popular to this day. So
I you know, and I for being the popular show that it was and that it was written out. I will say that my second favorite was I Love Lucy.
Okay.
You know, I Love Lucy that is so fixed in time.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of funny, the writing and all of those things that were involved with that.
Yeah,
you know, so well, Charles, we hijacked. Charles, go ahead.
Go ahead, Charles. Sorry.
Well, I'm not a big Golden Girls fan. I think it's a good show, but you got to give credit where credit is due. Maude came from a spinoff of All in the Family, Archie Bunker, which is a Norman Lear product, which is all of the great shows come from Norman Lear that branched out and did spinoffs. That writing style came from that era when the civil rights movement and so forth was going on, women's rights, civil rights, you know, everything was moving out there. I think that a lot of times we miss the nuances of shows because we don't pay close enough attention. I was explaining to somebody the other day how Star Trek was written because of racism. Nobody believes that or even seen it, but they use aliens to represent cultures, and nobody really saw that. They just know that Kirk was sleeping with everybody, which is, I hate to say it this way, which is what most white men did back in that day. They tried to sleep with every culture they could get with. And a lot of what we go through, and like you say, shows have a meaning if we just look at the underlying tone that it's setting and understand that there are more things in the world going on that we can't express directly, but that we need to be paying attention to.
Absolutely.
You know what's so funny? You bringing that up. You know, Michelle Nichols, who played
Lieutenant Aurora.
Lieutenant Aurora on Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she was going to quit that show, and Martin Luther King called her and said, "You cannot quit this show."
I remember that.
That's right.
You can't quit that. But you know what's so crazy nowadays? We have all this reality crap that's going on right now, and it's supposed to be reality, right? Not even touching on any subject matter whatsoever.
Right.
Not even touching on any subject matter that pertains to the lives of the reality that they're supposed to be representing.
Right. And
that in itself is very telling to how screwed our entertainment is, because I remember growing up in the 90s, you had a lot of family shows, Family Matters, Fresh Prince, you had The Different World, you had In Living Single, you had Martin, you had, and Seinfeld and All About Me and Married with Children, all these shows. But even in those shows, they touched on social issues.
Yes.
But we have reality shows that's supposed to be so scripted, they're not touching on anything. That's why we got this man in the White House. These folks don't know anything about anything that's of any social issue unless somebody on social media is getting killed.
Right. Well,
you know what it is? It's because it's called show business.
Right.
Yeah.
Capitalism in there. We only have reality shows because of the writer's strike, and they couldn't figure out how to make money without spending money. Wow. And that was it. Cheap sex,
producer,
low paid people, hey, and then this is the part that cracks me up. All those housewives shows and most of these women shows are written by gay white men, middle-aged.
Absolutely.
And they go crying to him. They go crying to him like they cry on and this is so funny. He sits in the middle.
Right.
He sits in the middle of all of their disruptos, discretions, craziness. He sits there like a massa, and he's just laughing it all up.
Right.
While they
playing in their face,
cutting each other down, cussing and carrying on. He's just sitting there like I'm the minister of the
minister of confusion.
Oh, not the minister of confusion, but I'm the master of this show. And look at these buffoons that I'm paying to be the minstrels that that they said that they're not. They're minstrels.
I personally never entertained any of those shows, at all. Because I just thought
in the beginning, I did. I ain't gonna lie, I did. I really thought, and I didn't think about it till later on though. But Atlanta Housewives, I did in the beginning. I ain't gonna lie, I got sucked into it. But as the years progressed, and I saw how they were like just cutting each other down, I said, you know what? At the end of the day, this is not what I call entertainment, because we should not even be doing this to each other.
Right.
And and that's the thing. We're so easy to do this for entertainment that, hey, how low can you go? Right. It's like, what can we do now to make it even dirtier and even grittier?
Right.
Even who was Hosea Williams? What's the civil rights besides Martin Luther King?
Yeah, he's part of it. Yeah.
His granddaughter, Portia Williams. Right. Now, she's supposed to be holding up a legacy, but hey, to each his own. I'm not even going to put that much stock and that much responsibility on irresponsibility. But she has a grandfather who marched, who helped to get our freedom. And she's
Hosea Williams.
Yeah, and she's so busy doing what she's doing. I'm saying to myself, girl, that's a legacy. That's you just really just messed up a great legacy because of the fact that you're trying to make extra income.
Right. But that's the key. Remember this. Capitalism. I keep repeating this. Capitalism is king. This is why we are where we. And then, like I tell people all the time, no matter how much you dislike it, somebody must like it because they're getting money.
Well, we love it.
Spending, sponsors throwing money. I worked on Love and Hip Hop, quite a few of them, and that money that comes in there is no joke.
Yeah,
it comes in and it's just woo, and the people
love it.
Yep.
Broke people love it because you see all these people with status and money. At the end of the day, it's status and money. You see them in all of this, in all of their, paid finery, and they're cutting up and fighting. And it's something that we aspire to do in our own universe.
Yeah, reality duped the American public. You know why? Because the producers and creators of The Apprentice are on a apology tour. They made Donald J. Trump.
right
to look like that. They paid for the settings. Those wasn't his conference rooms and stuff. They paid for that. They built that stuff out for him. They made him, gave him the image he has. He's no businessman. He's not even an art of the deal. He's a knucklehead. And I know I said it, so come get me, Donald. But that's he's a knucklehead. And the people made him look that way.
Well, yeah, I agree. I mean, I have to say I was sucked in by The Apprentice back then because I thought it was a really good, it was something different.
By Shark Tank.
Well, that's but that's well, it has its moments until the truth behind the truth comes up about a lot of different different scenarios. I mean, and I think one of the I'm not going to pull it apart. I was going to say the Jersey Show was probably one of the worst reality shows, worst ever. Okay, and then this gets all this type of publicity and whatever the case would be. But I did want to bring up, as you mentioned, about social shows that were written with social consciousness involved. And I have to give high credit to Norman Lear, okay, because his first controversial show was All in the Family.
Oh yeah.
Okay, and in that writing of that show, he touched on so much stuff, and Archie Bunker was right in your face, about
Carol O'Connor.
Carol O'Connor, yeah. Now, of course, Carol O'Connor in real life was totally different from the character that he played, but that it was even going back to B. Arthur. Okay, when her original show with Maude was in there. Okay, and then you had the spinoff. You had two other spinoff African American shows came from that sector. Which first one was Good Times. With
the Jeffersons.
And the Jeffersons. Okay, the Jeffersons highly controversial. Highly controversial because you took allegedly somebody that was a maid, to Archie's wife, and then she gets elevated to the moving on up to the east side.
Her husband opens a business,
and her husband opens a business, and then actually Sherman Hensley character was kind of the reverse script of Archie Bunker.
Yep, he sure was. The protagonist. Yeah,
exactly. So, but I love the Jeffersons. The only thing that unfortunately that happened with the Jeffersons, and it's still something. No, Weezy was great, and oh my God, Marlon Gibb, Florence was to me honestly. I look forward to watching the show because of Florence.
Is that where not Amen, but 227 spun from? I know I'm just being funny.
No, they weren't on it, but Sanford and Son came through Norman Lear also.
Right.
Yeah.
227 came afterwards, but Marlon Gibb did have a show that was a spawn off of the Jeffersons, and it didn't work. But
the Florence show,
227, and that. But all of those shows to me that was great TV. And then living here in LA during that time, I got a chance to go to a lot of those TV tapings and the Jeffersons and Golden Girls, 227. I mean,
The Facts of Life.
The Facts of Life. I did. The worst one I ever went to went to several times was Different Strokes. Anyway, that's not a story about the acting, but all of those, I mean, to me that was sitcom era. That was the sitcom of television and things of that nature, and we built around it. Then you had to come on what eras, and we're gonna get off of talking about TV sitcoms, but then you move into the Friends era, which I have my real drawback about Friends.
Living Single.
I was going to go there.
Friends was a spawn of Living Single.
Different world, all of these started surfacing, coming forward out of that. And then a lot of those are still great today, and you have to look at the writing, because if you can sit back and watch one of those iconic shows again and again and again, the writing has to be one that is really good about it. The one that he likes, I don't like, which is the Parkers.
I love that's when UPN was at its best. UPN, Moesha and the Parkers.
Moesha was okay, but the only reason I didn't like the Parkers is because I didn't particularly care for whatever that child name was. But to me, and Monique on the Parkers, that she was at her prime. She was so good on the Parkers. But that little child, anyway.
I think she should go back to primetime television.
Who, Monique?
Yeah, I think she should.
Yeah, maybe she should. And then you move into the era of bridging gaps again, and then you had the introduction of Will and Grace. Okay, and Will and Grace was a very, very successful show at its time. A lot of people didn't watch it a whole lot, but I watched it then.
I didn't watch it when it was primetime.
It brought same gender to the forefront.
I didn't watch Glee when it was primetime.
Glee? Oh, really? Glee was also good too, but it was, it's different though in its. But Will and Grace was one of the very few successful shows that 10 years after it had ended, it was able to come back and do another 3 seasons. You know,
Oh, yeah.
so which was really, really good about the writing, how they got everybody. And I kind of miss Will and Grace, at that point. But it did lose a little bit when it did come back.
Because it was more political.
It was more political, exactly, and it lost a little bit of its finesse, that you had in the surprises that Jack's character and all those different things that that were part of the show. But anyway, we got to move on because we're going to stay in sitcom world all evening. Okay.
Well, if you like what you hear, you like what you see.
What you say?
I said, if you like what you hear, you like what you see, press that like button, share it, comment. Please get the algorithm on the show moving. We like to keep that thumbs up going. So whenever you're watching the show, please press the like button to show that you appreciate the show and you like what you see.
Absolutely.
I just wish Martin would have came back as that. Well, I wish there would have been backing for Martin to have come back the way he did.
He is in conversation about trying to, but a lot of times, and you and I've talked about this extensively, they would like to bring certain shows back. And they're looking at bringing your other favorite one, Living Single.
Oh yeah,
they're in talks. Okay,
but I don't understand because Queen Latifah has some backing. Now that's my thing. Well, she got a production company now.
Let me explain. Okay, so what happens is that you have this happen, egos. And these egos get bigger.
Oh God!
And they get bigger. And they get bigger. Okay. And
reason why Golden Girls went off. But keep going.
Well, yeah, but it wasn't the ego. It was actually it was actually. We can touch on that too. We can touch on that too. This is about Golden Girls now. But ego. So what happens is that with the actors, and they feel like they have established some groundwork. And because they have established some groundwork, they feel like they need to get paid to come back. So they get into these negotiations. They don't come up with the proper amount of repay, for them. So it just kind of fizzles off.
That's one of those what they call urban myths. Yeah. I watched some interviews with T.C. Carson, and he was saying that that's not the truth. The truth was they spawned Friends from Living Single. And he felt that if Friends were getting paid that money and they were in competition with each other and they were beating them, then they should give more money. They would give them guys $1 million an episode.
Yeah, they were.
They barely give these people 75, even 80 grand an episode. These people getting $1 million. And they're like, they spun their show off of them. So,
But go ahead, Charles. But let me also add this. Martin, when they reached their 100th episode, Martin said, he told this story. Seinfeld got their 100th episode. Fox gave them the biggest party that the Lock could ever give a show. But when Martin got to their 100th episode, they gave them a cake.
Yep, sure did. Yep.
And Martin was pissed. He was pissed off about that. And that is the situation with when it boils down to the
business and the network.
The situation when it comes down to African American platforms compared to their white mainstream platforms. And that is so sad that these shows built up a whole network, and then once they were built up, they were tossed to the side, and then next thing you know.
Speaking of which, what happened with the Jeffersons? Okay, the Jeffersons never got a proper ending of that show. They finished one season and they never came back, and it left it in a layer of a cliffhanger. In that last episode, that everybody was like, "What the heck?" I mean, people wrote the show, they wrote the studios, everything, and they refused to bring the Jeffersons back. Not
Family Matters. A lot of those shows did that.
Yeah, they just kind of dropped them off. I mean, at the end of the day, so the business side of it is, I think, it's very ruthless.
And I want to segue with that into the show to how life is in society at this moment. You see how we break ground and we put forth all these valiant efforts and give I say intelligence and opportunity to people to grow. And just like in today's society, we got rid of DEI when we think it was helping Black folks, but it wasn't. It's basically white women and the LGBTQ plus community. But we still push away Black history. We push away they try to take away HBCU money. They're just all sorts of things that are going haywire with the system because every time we excel or propel, we get chopped in our knees chopped out. We never get to move up or go where we need to be. The appreciation that a lot of us have put out there, like you wouldn't have the refrigerator, the stoplight, the laundromat, or a lot of things. If it wasn't the elevator, if it wasn't for black inventors, but yet we still do not appreciate the multicultural country we have which is called the United States.
Right.
So many people contribute and put into this country. It's not an Anglo-Saxon, all-white, heterosexual male country. Right now, we're trying to bring in people from South Africans here and pay for their housing, pay for their groceries, pay for their clothing. We're going to take care of them. But yet anybody else coming in this country, nah, we're not doing that. You can't come in and get all that.
Added on the black fatigue, Charles. Why are you always? Why are we always listen? And the saddest thing about this is that is playing in our face too. That's the new trending thing that's playing in our face because they know what they're doing. They know that some of these folks know that they're gaslighting because they got this fool now in the White House. The fact is that he has allowed these people to come from South Africa because they're being murdered. They're being tossed off. They're supposed to be
segregated against. He said it's segregated against. Yeah,
land that was stolen. That was an episode on A Different World where Kim Reese was getting a scholarship from a company from a corporation from South Africa.
Yeah, I remember that.
And because of the apartheid, they were going to send back their scholarship until they got that together, until they got Mandela out of the prison. But the saddest thing about that is people tend to forget all of that had happened. You know how many black entertainers didn't go to South Africa because of the apartheid?
Nope, sure did.
And that in itself is that people don't care to do research. Well, you know, Trump, that was in the past. Now they got a new regime and they're doing the opposite. But these people have always been in power. These people, there's still black South Africans still in those shanty towns that still haven't gotten out of those shanty towns.
This is the meaning of systemic. This is the meaning of systemic. When we keep saying there's no such thing as racism, it's systemic. It's built into the fabric and the fiber of this world, basically. But in this country, it's a part of the thread that makes it what it is. And I tell people all the time, most people are scared of us wanting revenge. When we don't want revenge, we just want acceptance. And that's the key to all this. Nobody's trying to take over the country. Nobody's trying to kill every white person because of what they did. We just want to be accepted for who we are and acknowledged for what we contribute. That's it.
Absolutely. I'm just get tired of it trying to explain to people who could give a damn. You know, the reality of it is it's like trying to sit down and not sit there and tell somebody who is so ignorant that the sky is blue, not purple. And you're trying to explain to them, but they still don't want to listen to you because they want to believe in the ignorance. Right. And that in itself is it's sad. I don't like to watch CNN too much because I'm so tired of them debating. And you see those ignorant asses with smirks on their face, knowing what they're going to say, knowing what they're going to do, deflect, lie, keep it trying. And then you got black moderates and hosts trying to pacify and say, well, you know, Scott, that's not what was said. I'm like, will you please stop?
You know what? I give her credit though. She may use a subtle touch to do what she does, but she always puts them in check. And she's smart, very smart. She has knowledge because she chops them down every time they do it. What's that saying? You don't have to have a big stick to make a big noise. She does it every time. She chops them up with the cameras.
Yeah, and I understand it. So with this, let's go ahead and pivot into our next discussion. We got a couple more before our time is up. So we had a video with Miss Crockett, right, Dr.
Oh, we sure do. Would you like to do that now?
Yes, sir.
All right, here we go. With my future ex-wife, Miss Jasmine Crockett. Here she is. Oops, I missed the key.
But as he's pulling it up, the clown is over in Saudi Arabia right now. Those of you that are tuning in, and then this big controversy about him trying to get this, giving him this jet. Really?
Well, hey,
come on.
Here's Jasmine. She's everything she says. It's nothing but the truth.
Yeah.
We right now have a white supremacist that is sitting in the White House. He is backed up by other white supremacists. And if you really want to know who the criminals are in this country, you can Google it. You don't have to trust me. But the people that commit 80% of the most violent crimes in this country are white supremacists. Yet for whatever reason, they sit and they serve at the pleasure of the president. They are the ones that were there on January 6th, tearing our democracy down physically. And now we have them tearing us down right here from within. The coddling is for the white boys. That's what's happening right now. I am tired of the white tears. Listen, if you are competent, you are not concerned. When I walk into Congress every single day, you know why I don't feel away and why you can't make me doubt who I am is because I know that I had to work 10 times as hard as they did just to get into the seat. When you look and you compare me to Marjorie Taylor Greene or me to Lauren Boebert, there is no comparison. And that is the life that we have always lived. So the only people that are crying are the mediocre white boys that have been beaten out by people that historically have had to work so much harder. This is why they don't want us to have education. This is why they are trying to literally say we won't fund the HBCUs, because they know that if they've already gone after affirmative action and they're saying, you know what, don't allow them to come into, say, these PWIs, as we call them, don't allow them to come into these institutions. We know why they created the HBCUs in the first place. It was because they wouldn't allow us into the white institutions. And so now they're not allowing us in. And now they're saying, you know what, we're also going to defund the HBCUs. You know why? Because they don't want any more Kamala Harrises. They don't want any more Jasmine Crockett's. But I got news for them. I don't care what they do. We will fight to the end to make sure that we get our due. Because again, if you want to talk about the people that shouldn't be in this country, you probably need to look in the mirror, because the last time I checked, the Native Americans who some of ICE have been rounding up, or the Puerto Ricans who are absolutely Americans. Listen, the only people that came and colonized this place are your ancestors, Trump.
Trump's ancestors came as criminals from Germany.
Right.
But the saddest thing about that is, though, that, you know, one thing I wish that we would understand, especially when it boils down to HBCUs, when she said, they won't even allow us into white institutions, but they can come to HBCUs for free under the fact that they are of the minority.
Well, side note, PWI means primarily white institutions.
Yeah, basically.
Just
but
for those
that
folks
is,
who didn't
that
know.
is the situation. Right. That is the situation. White students can come to an HBCU and be tuition free, because they are about a minority. Right. And we can't even go to a PWI without having to pay tuition. Right. Right. And are we of the minority? Right. But see, that's the situation at hand. And that is what that is the
minority means what you are in the room at the time.
Oh, most definitely. But that is the reason. That is the reason why. That is the reason why we are dealing with what we're dealing with. It's just so sad that some of us haven't awoke. Right. We haven't awoke out of our own situation. You still got black folks still falling behind short because they want to check. Right. They want to check.
Well, you know, it's funny. And I, as we say every week, guys, on the show, that we hope that the deposits that we leave you that will cause you to do a checkpoint and check what's going on in your home, in your life, everything. There was another point that I know that we didn't have to bring up tonight, but it was dealing with the Black Republicans, and I think I sent that one to you, to Charles.
Yeah, I was able to get that one recorded in time.
Yeah, man, we'll show it to you guys next week. Okay, it's just sad, and again, understand. I've got family members that are Republican. I'm a Demolupican, or whatever the case may be, as you wanted, but I'm more independent than anything.
But they've been bought.
Yeah, but
they've been bought. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna let you finish, but they've been
with a bow on it.
I'm not going to pacify the Black Republicans because they've been bought because of the investment. You don't think so, Charles?
They've been. I'm not going to pacify them neither, because they've been wrapped up with a bow.
A lot of them that are there and have made the decision. But what I'm trying to say here is that we just have to be careful about crossing that synergy. Meaning that because a person is under their idea of a Republican value doesn't mean that they're a mega Republican. Okay,
but you are complicit in what they are bringing, because at the end of the day, if somebody's telling you that, calling you a DEI, or saying that your existence and what you bring to the table don't even matter, and then erasing your history. I mean, they're burning Maya Angelou's. No, they're not burning. They're tossing Maya Angelou's books in the trash because it's too woke. See, that's a problem for me.
Understand. All right, understand, but there's still a difference in the conversation here. Okay, you know, and the reason I'm saying there's a difference in the conversation is because we cannot equate that as a person that desires of certain things of being a Republican. That is an extreme Republican. Those are extreme behaviors that are going on, and under the headshot.
Get up a spine.
Cory Booker said it best. Cory Booker said it best. It's not left or right, it's right and wrong.
Right, exactly.
Get a spine. Like those black boys. Like, who was it? What's the man from South Carolina? What's his name? Bald head like me. What's his name? With the buck teeth and all. Get a spine. Have some integrity. Stand up against what is wrong within your party. Stop trying to act.
Then we gotta start with the one that everybody else wants to associate with, because we gotta stop saying what the Dems need to be doing and the Dems are not doing it. Okay, so
that's a difference, though. But keep going.
Yeah, there's a huge difference in the makeup of that, because just like as you stated, the Dems need to get some spine, and they definitely need to get some spine going, because nobody's saying nothing. At the end of the day, thank you, Charlie. We'll transition to that.
Like Coleman Domingo, get a spine and say, I can play whatever role I want to play because I'm an actor.
But the idea of that is that we need to really, rally behind people that stand in their authenticity, and hopefully their authenticity will support it that you're a part of. At the end of the day. All right. So moving along, there's another controversial point that's circling around in the creative side of Hollywood that most people would like to refer to it. So Demi Moore and Coleman Domingo have been cast to shoot a film that is based on an interracial couple. Okay, which is I applaud that. And the big controversy is not so much of them being cast as an interracial couple. There's somebody out there about that, but is the fact that Coleman Domingo is an openly gay actor.
That's okay.
I know. And so the comments would have been boatloads of them. That when this first came out, this came out on X, and of course they run it all over the world with it. Okay, well, how can a gay man play a straight actor? I mean, a straight role. Why are they not casting a straight man for the role? Well, maybe the straight man didn't audition properly for the role. At the end of the day,
you had famous people like Ving Rhames. He played cross dresser.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whose character was gay, and then you have Tu Wong Fu with Wesley Snipes.
All three of them.
All three of them.
Patrick Swayze
played gay men who were, who were drag
Will Smith. Will Smith, 0 to 60.
Thank you.
Right.
0 to 60. I thought it was 60 degrees. 60 degrees.
6 degrees of separation.
Well, yeah, it is something. My bad. Right. I think Nicolas Cage. My bad.
Right. Well, even in that, that to this day is still the critics' favorite of every movie that Will Smith has ever done up to this point. Is 6 degrees separation.
Or Brokeback Mountain.
Well, look at the series of Oz. Oz is a series of a bunch of straight men in prison playing gay characters. And the guy that played Annabise, he played his role correct.
But so I just there's always going to be somebody that wants to push back to have a conversation. So what I said on X about that particular point in time, I said, why don't you focus in on the purpose of the film? Okay, and not what you think is coming out of the film, or the alleged, or what somebody. And first of all, if you didn't know that Coleman Domingo was gay, would you know he was gay?
So does that mean I can't play I'm a meat eater. So does that mean I can't play what do you call those folks who don't eat meat?
A vegan?
A vegan. So I can't play vegan because I eat meat.
Because if you're vegan, you're partly because of this, and this part of you, didn't represent the whole part of the meat connoisseur. You don't like lions. You like lions eating up zebras, and
the Little Mermaid can't be black.
And the mermaid can't be black because somebody wrote her she wasn't written with any color anyway. She was written as a mermaid. All right, same way with our favorite film right now. Same way with Elphaba, and Wicked. The controversy. We never talk about the controversy of Wicked. You know what I'm saying? In the day, the controversy about the fact that they had a black Elphaba playing Elphaba.
They beat up Michael B. Jordan for playing Johnny Storm in the Fantastic Four.
Exactly. Oh my God! Do you remember that one? They got so mad about that whole idea they refused to go see the movie.
Well, then Captain American, what's his name?
Yeah, exactly.
He played the black
Anthony Mackie.
Didn't they say they were protesting that too as well?
Yeah. Captain
But what, in America, and this is where we differ from Europe, and this is the problem with American audiences. American audience, they love a great actor with a personality that they can relate to. And they want to see themselves in that actor, which is a problem.
Wow.
That's a problem.
Wow.
Because actors are supposed to be in servitude of the word, of the script.
Right.
It doesn't matter about the character. They are in servitude to the word. But over here in America, we are so we're so fascinated by the background of the person who is acting that we cannot even
enjoy the film.
Not enjoy the film, but just make a split.
It's not just America, because remember, over in Asia, you can't have a black person on the poster. Kim Kardashian had to be on Tyler Perry's poster in order for them to put it up for his movie to come out, and she only had a 5-minute role in it. Huh?
That's marketing, basically.
Yeah, but that's the country itself. You cannot put that poster up there with a black face on it. It has to be a white person leading the marketing charge or so forth. And that's then Tyler said they wouldn't play the movie unless he put that poster up.
Wow. And where people are in their heads sometimes, I don't even know. I mean, we went through the same controversy about Denzel when he was playing in
but they don't want to see
Gladiator.
They don't want to see them as actors. Terrence Howard really messed it up when he came out and talked about
himself.
I don't want to play Marvin Gaye because he was gay, and I would cut my lips because I don't want to kiss no man. Well, that's your principle. That's your boundary. Right. But don't put that. And then you have a bunch of people saying, well, they're playing the Hollywood game by playing gay or playing this and playing that. But no.
Okay. Oh, go ahead.
But the facts are the facts. They are actors. That is something that they do that
make believe really creative.
That creates. So why are we putting a boundary on artistic expression? I don't understand.
My thing for the Motor Mouse, okay, number one,
they don't do nothing.
Motor Mouse, okay. None of y'all are actors. Okay, none of y'all have ever been on a movie set. None of y'all have ever auditioned. None of y'all have ever taken an acting class. None of y'all have even won a paycheck as an actor. Shut the hell up. Okay, bottom line. At the end of the I know, I understand. But if you're going to critique something, you need to have information and documentation in order to critique something. Because if you don't have any of that, you need to shut the hell up, just like I just said at the end of the day. So. People, come on, there's too much going on. Are you worried about whether this actor is gay? Now, you'd be surprised how many gay women, that have been.
You don't know what people do in their personal life. They could be gay, just in the background. You don't know what they do.
You don't know what they're doing. At the end of the day, so just stop, y'all. If you don't want to go see the movie, sit your ass home and don't go.
That's the key. Don't participate.
At the end of the day, if it's going to make that big of a difference in you eating, what would you say, Charles? Being a vegan and eating vegan.
I can't believe him. I can't believe him being a vegan. I saw him eat a hamburger before. How am I going to believe that?
You're changing the world. It's just insane. I mean, it really is. This type of behavior is insane.
Hey, that's the American audience for you. But I think like I said, going back to what I said, the American audience is different from European audiences because European audiences don't care. They don't care overseas what their actors are doing behind closed doors and what they're doing. And on top of that, over there, it doesn't really matter because they know that they're doing their job. But over here, you got to relate to your audience. Denzel cannot be kissing no man because every black man wants to be a Denzel and every black woman wants to be with Denzel. It's just the fact that we want to see ourselves in these people. I'm not even thinking about the fact that they're doing something that we wouldn't want to put ourselves in, but the fact is that they are actors, and acting has no bounds. Right.
Well,
it has no bounds.
And then that I think that rolls over to the entertainment industry anyway.
Well, that too.
Because how many? My God, I mean, she just had her Cardboard Cutter tour. Start off here in LA.
Oh Lord, now I'm going back
and I'm just talking about the people that went to see it. I ain't worried about her now. But the people that went to see the shit, they had to dress up like her. They had to do all these things like her. They had to do this like her. They don't have money to pay their bills, but she got money to pay her bills like her. Okay, I mean, and it just transcends into the emptiness of so many people's lives.
Well, they did it for Kiss. They did it for.
Well, I understand.
A lot of groups.
I know they've done that, but my point is just I'm just saying that the self identity. It's one thing if you can have self identity because we do it at Halloween, you do it like the dress with different characters. I get that, but have some self-decorum about yourself and not pass a level of judgment over a situation because you think somebody's participating in something. You know, I mean, let's just stop this. You know, I mean, like my thing, I'm gonna get on Mary J. Blige, you know, for just a second.
What's wrong with Mary J. Blige? What
Mary
she
J. Blige,
do?
Mary J. Blige. I mean, it's not Mary J. Blige herself, okay, but you got every woman in America, every woman of color,
That's
they
their problem.
think
That's
they
their-
need to
that
dress
ain't
like
Mary J.
Mary J. Blige.
That ain't Mary J. Blige's problem. That's
It
their
sure
problem.
ain't.
I know that, but
Nobody told you to go out there wearing an 8 size dress, knowing that you need a 12 and a wig that is blonde all over the place and stilettos that don't match and don't even go up. You know, that's the saddest thing. You need to be real about yourself. Be real. That it ain't. You just can't be going to the mirror wearing everything and thinking that you're Mary J. Blige or you Beyonce. You are not Beyonce. You're not even Bobby Brown. You're not.
Ooh, you better watch yourself. What you talking about there?
Not even none of these people. Stop it. Stop. I mean, work to your strengths. I want to be like Martin. Work to your strength and go get your picture of Flavor Flav and we'll talk.
Hey.
No, not nowadays. You get a picture
Work
of Bobby
to your
Brown
strengths.
and
At least work to your strengths. You are not these people. I wouldn't want to go thinking that I am Michael B. Jordan. I know I could if I tried, but in my delusional mind, I could be, but in reality, I can't be because he is who he is.
Right.
So I wish some people would stop trying to fan out and try to be these folks. Be yourself.
Yeah.
Be the greatest love of all. Please go
Love
listen
yourself.
to that music. Go listen to that song, Greatest Love of All.
But it really just pays homage to the fact that people are just so empty about their own lives, and they really don't understand the gamut of those things. You know, they really don't. And they're trying to find their own hope in these characters. And these are characters. I mean, you know, that's Beyonce is a character when she's on stage. Mary J. Blige is a character when she's on stage. You know, and all of these other types.
I would love to have been Luther. I would love to have Luther Vandross's voice. If I ever wanted to be somebody, it would have been Luther.
Well, I would want to be Luther.
I would have wanted to be Luther. I want to sing like Luther. But to be honest with you, Luther is Luther, and that ain't nothing I can do about that. I mean,
but you know, the end road of this whole situation too is that if you want to be like this problem, you come with those people's problems.
Oh, that too. Yeah,
at the end of the day, you know, and trust me, if you knew half the stuff, we don't know what goes on Beyonce. Very private about this stuff. The stuff don't get out there too much. All right,
she is very private.
Very private about it. She keep this stuff on lockdown. Okay, but I'm sure that you will not want to know a lot of things that go on between that $200,000 mansion out here in Malibu that she has. You don't want to know. You know, you think it's like all of this, that, and the third, you know, and then the stuff that Mary J. Blige has gone through. You don't half you women couldn't go through half the stuff she went through. Okay, and the list of all of these different characters that went on. We can go back far into Hollywood, you know, and the things that people have gone through for the sake of the business. You know, you wouldn't want to do it. You know, you would not want to do it.
Like Haley Bailey, you talking about the Little Mermaid? You know, she has came out with pictures of abuse from her baby daddy from DDG, and I did not know he was abusing her. Right. I did not say to myself, see, that's the problem. You know, even with money, even with some form of status and assets, you still can't get away from real life issues.
You can't.
It's the saddest thing that a man, whoever he is, or have to put his hands on a woman, still have all the money in the world, but still got to put his hand, whatever this fool going still through it in the trial, in the court case. See, that's the problem. This man is going through his issues right now, and we seeing another issue playing out. And these fools have not learned yet. They ain't learned.
Nope.
They still out here playing.
I mean, you know, it's I don't know.
With that being said, let's say a happy when you say late, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there.
Yes,
happy belated Mother's Day.
For sure. Mamas, we love y'all. We love y'all. We love y'all. We normally we would do a show on that, but the way our show schedule is now, we're over the hump.
Yeah, stay away from DDG. He's not for every mother on this.
And May is our mental health month, so let's remember that also.
Yes, we will look into a couple of things about mental health month on a future show because it is. And
what happened? What happened? Uh-oh.
You know, we are really dealing with a mental issue. You know what I'm saying?
That's
We
right.
really are. We really do, because we're trying to escape from who we really are as a person and not necessarily dealing with that, dealing with who we are.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you know what? It has been a thrilling night, as usual. Okay. When we leave, we're going to leave you with, I think, with the Golden Girls theme again, and just say that we do thank you all for being a friend.
All right.
We thank you for being a friend of this show. We thank you for taking the time out each week and celebrating us. At one time we were the Golden Men.
We still are golden.
We're golden by trade, right? But yeah, we really honestly thank you guys for tuning in with us each and every week. And we hope that you grab something tonight, celebrate what happened with the Golden Girls 30 years, and again, get behind our new Pope. I mean, because the man loves humanity, okay? And if he's directing you toward loving humanity, it's a great thing.
And he might bring Cajun food into the Vatican. They might be eating dirty rice and beans.
Hey, he's from Chicago. He might have a cookout on the front lawn. Who knows?
No, you know what?
You think he'll bring Harold's chicken to the?
He should. They should have that in the Vatican. They should have that in there.
They bring the Harold's chicken to the Vatican.
Bringing Harold's chicken back to the Vatican.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a bad idea.
That is
them people wouldn't know how to act. That's too much seasoning on this chicken. Too much seasoning. Be like I don't know. I don't think even Megan put seasoning on her.
Why you say that?
I don't know. Is she cooking the show?
She might.
Not cooking, no cooking show.
You never know. But anyway, we love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. And think about being somebody's friend.
All right.
Think about being somebody's friend. As we depart out tonight with leaving you with the Golden Girls theme. I hope they don't censor us from using it. They won't. But copyright. We're not copyrighting.
We'll get cease and desist if we do.
Yeah, exactly. Well, look, all the money that this show is still making, if it's going in our bank account, I'll be really happy. Okay, at the end of the day. But we love you guys. We will see you back here next Tuesday, 6:15, right here on what? The Truth Behind the Truth.
All right, folks.